And this one is a really awesome game where players are going to be playing as different factions with their own special ability, but also players are going to be digging through different layers of ice, collecting the different tiles that they're able to dig through. And what's cool about this is that the first layer of tiles is going to be granting you with one-time use actions that you'll be spending those tiles in order to perform. But then there's other tiles that you're going to be trying to collect in order to create different sets that do also grant you a special abilities if you collect a certain amount of them, but you can also cash these in for victory points in specific moments in the game. So you're gonna have to balance trying to hang on to those for as long as possible in order to gain the benefits of the ability, but you'll also want to cash those in for victory points as much as you can because you do have a limited amount of opportunities to do so. But this is a game that I have played in the past, and I think this one's fantastic, and for that reason, this one is my own personal pick of the week, because I do have a lot of confidence in this one. And I will say that I didn't keep this one in my collection, but it was for a very specific reason. And that reason was that I felt the game just went on a little bit too long. And a big reason for that was because of the structure of the rulebook. The rulebook was fine for learning the game, but once we actually played the game, there was little edge cases and questions that would come up. And because the rulebook was just not structured very well, it took us a lot of time to actually find the rules that we were looking for. But if the rulebook was a little bit better, I would have kept this one for myself, and that is one of the reasons that this one is my own personal pick of the week, because the second edition is actually introducing a brand new revamped rulebook as well as a more streamlined game. This does come with some simplifications to the game because the original game actually had 5 layers of ice, whereas this newer version is only going to have 3, but I do think that is a positive thing. And they're also adding in another action that allows you to compensate for the fewer tiles that you're going to be picking up. I've also modified some of the actions offered on the various tiles to make them a little bit less take that than the original version of this game. And for anyone that does have the original version of this game, they will be offering a PDF of some 1.5 rules that do allow you to port over your existing components to the new rule set. But they will also be offering a conversion kit on their campaign as well if you do want to get the official physical changes. I really do like what I'm seeing with this one, and I always love to see publishers taking feedback from their backers and making big improvements to their games, and I wouldn't be too worried that you're now only going to have 3 layers of tiles rather than 5, because I do think less is more when it comes to this game, and I think having that streamlined experience is going to be a much better trade-off, and it does sound like they've incorporated these new changes in a way that you're not really going to be missing much from that original game. But like I said, this is a game that I have played, and I also have covered it in the past, so I'll just go ahead and roll my previous footage for you, but just keep in mind those few changes that I already mentioned. But if you do want to learn more, I will have links to this one in the description below, and I definitely recommend following along to make sure that you get that free gift added to your pledge. And I also just recommend checking this one out. And in this game, players are archaeologists exploring tiles of an ancient civilization for wealth and reputation. This game features a really unique mechanism as the game board is actually made up of 5 layers of tiles. Players are going to be using their workers to excavate these tiles to earn special abilities. The first layer represents the ice sheet, and the tiles gained here can be played as special actions throughout the game. The second, third, and fourth layers represent the surface, intermediate, and deep artifact levels, which offer game-changing rules to the player that collect these tiles. The last level is where players are going to be digging up different artifacts for reputation points at the end of the game. Players will each have their own colored archaeologists to control, but there will also be these smaller white archaeologists that players can freely claim from each other during their turn. On a player's turn, they get 5 action points to spend. You can use these action points to build camps, or you can use those action points to place archaeologists from the reserve onto your camps, or you can use a point to move your meeple to an adjacent tile, or you can excavate a tile for 3 action points, but this cost is lowered by 1 for each meeple that you have on it. 1 action point may also be saved for use on your following turn. As tiles are excavated, other tiles will collapse and be removed from the game if they're ever only adjacent to one other tile. Tiles are all locked within an outer frame, which makes picking up the tiles quite easy without shifting around other tiles on the board. And there is a small gap between the different tiles so that picking up that first tile on a given layer is not too difficult.